Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on Akashvani. This is Reshma Tiwari bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring to you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. Condolences keep pouring from around the world on the Balasore train tragedy in Odisha. India's President Draupadi Murmu embarks on a state visit to Suriname and Serbia, focused on encouraging business and people-to-people ties. US Defense Minister arrives in New Delhi, will discuss expansion of bilateral strategic ties. India-Maldives ties deepening, says India's Minister of State for External Affairs V. Muralidharan. The third G20 Health Working Group meeting under India's presidency begins in Hyderabad. Japan, US and South Korea to agree to upgrade their security relationship to enable real-time monitoring of missiles launched by North Korea. And wrestlers bring glory to India. Clinch 3 medals in UWW ranking series event in Bishkek. And now the news in detail. Union Minister of State for Health and Family Welfare Bharati Praveen Pawar called for integrating and strengthening One Health-based surveillance system as the threat of pandemics is far from over. She was addressing the inaugural session of the third G20 Health Working Group meeting in Hyderabad on Saturday. The minister said the concept of One Health, OH, promotes the decompartmentalization of human, animal and ecosystem health for the more efficient and sustainable governance of complex health issues to stem the spike of COVID-like pandemic. Underlining the importance of global collaboration and partnerships, she stated that the partnership we share as G20 members is vital and facilitates in building trust, sharing knowledge, creating networks and working together to achieve meaningful impact and results.
Our battle against the COVID-19 pandemic for the last 3 years has underscored the importance of collaboration and partnerships. The pandemic also highlighted that these partnerships are most fruitful only when developed during peacetime and not amidst an ongoing pandemic, and that we need to focus on creating resilient health systems with primary health as its cornerstone.
Speaking on the occasion, Union Tourism Minister G. Kishan Reddy said that the government is committed to universal health care for all by 2030. He added there cannot be a better platform than the G20 to support, harness and facilitate the power of universal health care to build a healthy and motivated world.
There can be not a better platform than the G20 to support, harness and facilitate the power of universal health care to build a healthy and a motivated world. I truly hope that our discussions over the course of the G20 Health Working Group deliberations will be fruitful.
The 3-day meeting will voice the challenges of the Global South and discuss the solutions. Separate sessions will focus on the initiatives on health emergencies prevention, preparedness and response and strengthening cooperation in pharmaceutical sector with focus on access and availability to safe, effective, quality and affordable medical countermeasures will be discussed besides bilateral meetings. In addition, the meeting will focus on research and development and innovation in its side events. Representatives of 180 member countries, 10 invitees and 22 international organizations are attending the 3-day event. The President of India, Mrs. Draupadi Murmu, has departed for her maiden state visit to Suriname in the late hours of Saturday. The President will be on a state visit to Suriname and Serbia from 4th to 9th of this month. During the first leg of her visit, Mrs. Murmu will be visiting Suriname from the 4th to 6th June at the invitation of the President of the Republic of Suriname, Chandrika Prasad Santokhi. The visit assumes historical significance as Mrs. Murmu will be the chief guest at the 150th anniversary celebrations of the arrival of Indians in Suriname to be celebrated on the 5th of June. The President is accompanied by Sadhvi Niranjan Jyoti, Minister of State in the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution and Ministry of Rural Development, and Srimati Rama Devi, Member of Parliament. The visit comes within 6 months of President Santoki's visit to India in January to attend the Pravasi Bharatiya Divas as a special guest of honor. He was also felicitated by the Pravasi Bharatiya Samman Award in 2021. In the second leg of a visit, the President will visit Serbia from the 7th to 9th June at the invitation of President Aleksandar Vučić. This will be the first ever state visit of the head of state between the two countries. The focus of the visit will be on encouraging the business communities of both countries to explore possibilities and prospects of business opportunities. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin arrived in New Delhi on Saturday on a 2-day visit to India to discuss ways to further expand bilateral strategic engagement ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's trip to Washington. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh will discuss a number of new defense cooperation projects with Mr. Austin on Monday. It will be Secretary Austin's second visit to India, the previous one being in March 2021. Separately, German Federal Minister of Defense Boris Pistorius is arriving in New Delhi on a 4-day visit to India on Monday. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh will also hold bilateral talks with his German counterpart. Apart from his meeting with Mr. Singh, Mr. Pistorius is likely to meet a few defense startups during an event organized by Innovations for Defense Excellence, IDEX, in New Delhi. On Wednesday, he will travel to Mumbai, where he is likely to visit headquarters, Western Naval Command and Mashgaon Dock Shipbuilders Limited. The Defence Ministry said a host of bilateral defence cooperation issues with a focus on industrial cooperation are likely to be discussed during the two meetings. Minister of State for External Affairs V. Muralidharan underscored the deepening cooperation between India and the Maldives across multiple sectors. The minister, who is on his maiden visit to Maldives, addressed the media in Malé after signing 10 agreements for implementing high-impact community development projects, HICDP, in 11 atolls. He said that India is happy to see the success of the HICDP model expand its footprint and increase its developmental impact on an exponential scale. The visit highlighted the progress made in bilateral relations, showcasing the importance of the growing partnership. Mr. Muralidharan commended the strides taken in the bilateral relations under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Ibrahim Mohammed Solih. He said the comprehensive development partnership between the two nations encompasses grants, concessional credit, budgetary support, capacity building and training assistance. The minister highlighted several noteworthy projects, including the imminent completion of water and sanitation initiatives on 34 islands, the ongoing construction of 4,000 housing units in Hulhumale, and the commencement of the Adu development projects for roads and reclamation. The prestigious Greater Malé Connectivity Project, valued at $500 million, was mentioned as a key catalyst for the Maldivian economy. Further, Mr. Muralidharan highlighted the progress of infrastructure projects like the Hanimadu International Airport redevelopment and the upcoming Gan International Airport redevelopment. Emphasizing the importance of human development, he said that over 1,000 Maldivian participants have recently benefited from various in-person training programs in India. Mr. Muralidharan handed over a batch of tuberculosis medicines to Maldives upon the request from the archipelago nation. The minister later paid a courtesy visit to Maldives President Ibrahim Solih and exchanged views on strengthening bilateral cooperation between the two countries. Condolence messages continue to pour in from around the world after Balasore train mishap. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has expressed sadness at the loss of lives in the tragic train accident in Odisha. In a statement, Mr. Guterres extended his deep condolences to the families of the victims as well as the people and Government of India. He wished a swift and full recovery to those who were injured. US President Joe Biden said he is heartbroken by train crash in India. In a statement, he said the United States and India share deep bonds rooted in the ties of family and culture that unite two nations. He said people all across America mourn alongside the people of India. Pope Francis expressed grief over the tragedy and said he is praying for the families of the dead and the injured. Indian Railways has made special arrangements at helpline number 139 to facilitate family, friends and relatives of deceased persons and passengers stranded in the tragic train accident in Odisha. A team of senior officers is manning the helpline 24/7 to provide all the relevant details to the callers after coordinating with the zonal railways and state government. This service will ensure prompt disbursal of enhanced ex gratia announced by the Railways Minister. 10 lakh rupees each enhanced ex gratia has been announced for the next of kin of those killed, 2 lakh rupees each for grievously injured, and 50,000 rupees each for those with minor injuries. The Railways is paying the ex gratia amount at 7 locations. These are Suro, Kharagpur, Balasore, Kantapara, Bhadrak, Cuttack and Bhubaneswar. The aim of the helpline is to provide a helping hand and to give correct and satisfactory information to the aggrieved passengers and their kins in this trying time. This is Akash Vani giving you the world news. Welcome back to World News. Japan, the United States and South Korea have agreed to upgrade their security relationship to enable real-time monitoring of missiles launched by North Korea. The countries will activate the new data sharing mechanism by the end of the year. The trilateral agreement came during a one-hour meeting in Singapore on Saturday, attended by Japanese Defense Minister Hamada Yasukazu, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, and South Korean Defense Minister Lee Jong-suk. The defense chiefs met on the sidelines of the Shangri-La dialogue. A joint statement released after the talks said the three condemned North Korea's recent claimed space-launching ballistic missile technology as it constitutes a serious violation of relevant UN Security Council resolutions. Pyongyang announced after the failed launch that it will conduct another launch soon. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has congratulated Dr. Hakan Fidan on his appointment as the Foreign Minister of Turkey. In a tweet, he said that he is looking forward to working for stronger India-Turkey relations. Poson Poya festivities continue in Sri Lanka. The festival, celebrated in the full moon of June, marks the arrival of Buddhism in the country over 2,000 years ago. The High Commission of India on the occasion has organized an exhibition on Indian Buddhist heritage in Homagama, about 20 kilometers from Colombo. The event was inaugurated by Sri Lanka's Minister for Mass Media, Dr. Bandula Gunawardene. The exhibition also showcases a special lantern depicting the arrival of Arihant Mahinda to Sri Lanka with Buddhist teachings from India. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a commentary on health priorities under India's G20 presidency.
To discuss the health priorities under India's G20 presidency, we have with us today Dr. Narendra Saini, former Secretary General of the Indian Medical Association. Sir, I wanted to understand that there are several priorities that have been laid under the G20 presidency for Health Working Group. Among these, one of the first is access to medical countermeasures. Could you elaborate on that point?
India has given a slogan, our Prime Minister has rightly said so, that Vasudeva Kutumbakam means, if in English I translate it, one earth, one family, one future. Means all our health related issues are not now only it can be in one country. They all are together. Our health, human health, animal health, plant health, environment health. They all are interlinked to each other. And secondly, they are not now related to one country. These are all international. They are linked together also. So that is the most important part, that we all have to work together. Pandemic has also shown when all the countries have come together, we have overpowered the disease. The same thing India is propagating, that this is one earth, one family and one future. So we all have to work together. And in these, there are three important agendas which are today very pertinent to the health of the whole world. That is, one priority area is, these are climate changes which are bringing these kind of diseases. So we have to prepare for all health emergencies. For future, we have to foresee the future and prepare for that. And second most important thing which is coming globally is antimicrobial resistance. If nothing happens, then antimicrobial resistance is the pandemic which can come in future. Every scientist, every healthcare worker is perceiving that this can be another pandemic if we have not taken the right step. And this right step will not be only pertinent to one country. The whole world has to come together for the judicious use of antimicrobials, and secondly for research on antimicrobials, because that is a costly research. If the countries do not pool all together their resources, and G20 is a big forum because 2/3 of economy where the research money is required, G20 is in terms of economy is the most powerful group of countries which are there. And secondly, they are also having 80% of the population. So whatever any global calamity will come, it will affect all these countries. But they have, good point is they have the resources also. So these have to put together. So our Prime Minister has rightly said so, one future, one earth and one family. Then second part which is important is I come to COVID, the lesson learned from COVID is that diagnostics is very important. Unless until we diagnose the disease, we can't talk about the future planning, we can't talk about the preventive measures, we can't talk about the treatment. So we all have to put our resources in terms of diagnostics. The therapeutics means the treatment part. We all have to collaborate together so that in case of emergencies, the response time is not there. At that point of time, all our scientists work together, the solution will be much faster. That has been shown in COVID. And preventive measures, vaccine, that's shown any country can do that. India has shown the world that in the shortest possible time, we have produced a vaccine that was not costly and we have given to the world also. So that collaboration is required and scientific knowledge sharing is also required. Then the digital health. That has, I think, revolutionized the treatment part, revolutionized the preventive part. So these all important agendas are there which our health team, our country has given this in G20 and they are very important. I think if taken care of, we can be very sure of the health of all countries who are in this group.
Could you talk about how India took the leadership when it came to providing COVID vaccines, as well as in terms of creating the CoWIN platform, and how these can be transferable to the world in terms of preparing for emergencies and scaling up operations, and also for broader universal health coverage?
During these kind of emergencies, when the pandemic comes, as I said before, the important thing is that vaccination, preventive measures, one is a diagnosis, as I said before. The second, the most important part is the vaccination. And that has to come fast. If you go in the history of vaccination production, it takes 8 to 10 years to produce one particular vaccine. And sometimes it takes more. But India produces that vaccine, or other countries also, I will say, have produced this vaccination in 6 months to 1 year of time. And that was only happened because of a collaboration and because of the scientific research which is available in our country. I really appreciate our country's scientists and the platform which was given to them by the government also has given the platform to our scientists to work on this vaccination platform. And that's how we are able to produce fast. And then this CoWIN platform has helped us in distribution and giving the vaccination. That is also important. You may have a vaccination, but at the right time, right people, right dose is not given. This is of no use. So we made a platform. Our scientists, people made that platform. We use in our country. We found that it is very effective. And rather now we are giving to WHO. Yes, we're giving that take this as a digital box from us and use this platform for any other country also, so that effectively we can utilize our vaccination program or any other program which is required to have a digital platform where it is needed.
Next, I would like to ask you that how has India's history of vaccine production, especially with respect to smallpox, etc., and now COVID, helped it to become pertinent advocate for such preparedness for vaccine rollout, etc. Could you shed some light on that?
Vaccination is all preventive measures, and vaccination, I take you back to history of polio eradication. What a platform it was. I think all Indians should be proud of that. In no time, we were able to curtail polio. We eradicated polio. We produced vaccination, we manufactured it, we distributed it. Vaccination is not only making a vaccination. It is then distribution, temperature, making a controlled temperature mechanism for the transport, maintaining that cold chain when it is required. All these requires a lot of dedication and scientific research work that we have been able to produce. Manufacturing a vaccination is one. Second is maintaining that cold chain. Then third is the distribution of the vaccine at a right time. These three chains are together, and our scientists have worked on each and every area of this. Manufacturing of vaccine. We started preparing. I will really again congratulate our government which promoted the scientific research on vaccination. So we were able to produce vaccination. Otherwise, the cost of this polio or other vaccination would have been very high. The COVID vaccination which we make was affordable. So government also gave to our people free of cost also. But the vaccination which is produced in the Western countries in USA, UK is very high cost, which we could not have been able to afford it. So local manufacturing was very important. Local research was very important that help us in manufacturing our own vaccine. So first is making a vaccination platform. Then second is making a vaccination distribution platform. Third is at local level making a platform so that vaccination can be stored effectively. And fourth is using a digital platform so that we are able to give vaccination to right people at the right time. So these all four I think has really helped us in effectively controlling most of the infective diseases which are at present prevalent in the country. And I think G20 is a great platform to share that knowledge. Now the time is that we should share that knowledge so that other countries can take help of that and can manufacture in their own countries and become a cost-effective thing. Similarly, other developed countries should also share that platform with other countries like India, where we have the platform to manufacture. Only thing that scientific know-how for that particular disease is not there, so that we are able to this. So intellectual rights. India has rightly talked about intellectual right also. If somebody is making a drug or somebody is only having that knowledge of producing a vaccination, there should be some intellectual right and technological transfer should be there, so that the dream which we have is one earth, one nation, one family, it can be, I think, come true.
India is considered the pharmacy of the world. How does it place the country with respect to the G20 agenda of One Health framework, of strengthening cooperation in pharma sector as well as access to affordable medication?
You have taken a very right asking a question. There are two aspects into this manufacturing of drugs. One is manufacturing. Second is the intellectual right to manufacture. These cooperations are required. Wherever these intellectual rights have gone, we have way ahead from other countries. We are producing these pharmaceutical drugs there is no intellectual rights at a very minimal cost, which is helping. Rather, USA and UK, we are exporting these drugs at a very nominal cost, which they can't even think of. So another cooperation which India has rightly said so, that intellectual rights also should be taken into consideration. You can give these drugs in a collaborative manner so that these intellectual rights should not come in between this. India has the technology to produce, manufacture and help other countries also to do so. But we need also help the intellectual rights. So G20 is a great platform and we have the leadership to impress upon people that yes, we should also deliberate on intellectual rights and technology transfer.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Saini.
Thank you.
China's Defense Minister General Li Shangfu said that war with the US would be an unbearable disaster for the world in his first major speech at a security summit since assuming office. He was speaking at the Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore, the Asia-Pacific region's only annual security meeting. He added that some countries were intensifying an arms race in Asia. He also said that the two superpowers should seek common ground. This comes in the wake of the allegations made by the US on Saturday over a Chinese destroyer near a US warship as it transited the Taiwan Strait with Canadian vessels. China criticized both countries for deliberately provoking risk. On the other hand, both the US and Canada said they were sailing where international law allows. Beijing had earlier rejected a US request for direct military talks in protest against the sanctions placed on General Li by the US in 2018 over weapons purchased from Russia. At the summit, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin rebuked China for refusing to hold military discussions. Despite the diplomatic spat, a top U.S. State Department official has arrived in Beijing for a week of wide-ranging talks. It is well known that the relations between Washington and Beijing have been strained in recent years over several issues, including China's claim over Taiwan and territorial disputes in the South China Sea. Dozens of pro-democracy activists have been arrested on the anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre by the Hong Kong police. The leader of one of Hong Kong's main opposition parties has been detained and placed in a police van, according to the AFP news agency. Among the other detainees was 67-year-old campaigner Alexandra Wong, widely known as Grandma Wong. Public events to mark the anniversary have since been outlawed after the Chinese government imposed a strict national security law outlawing many forms of dissent. The annual commemorations have not been held since 2020 after being initially banned under Hong Kong's COVID regulations. The Indian junior women's hockey team kicked off their Women's Junior Asia Cup 2023 campaign in emphatic fashion as they defeated Uzbekistan 22-0 in their first game of the tournament in Japan on Saturday. India will next play against Malaysia in their second pool game on 5th June. Indian wrestlers have signed off with 3 medals in the UWW Ranking Series event in Bishkek on Saturday, with Manisha grabbing gold, Ritika finishing second best and Sarita Moore clinching the bronze. Improvising with the small-sized draws, Manisha bagged gold in the 65-kilogram weight category, while India's tally in the series is 4 medals, including 1 gold, 1 silver and 2 bronze. Manisha won 4 matches in the 4 rounds, which helped her win the gold medal. In the tournament, the wrestler with the most number of victories will be ranked first. Earlier, Manjeet won a bronze in the men's Greco-Roman 55-kilogram category on Thursday, opening India's medal account in the series. 3 Israeli soldiers were killed in an attack near Egypt's border after a gunman wearing an Egyptian police uniform opened fire on Saturday. It is the first deadly exchange between 2 countries along the demarcation in more than a decade. The Israeli military said an Egyptian policeman shot and killed 2 soldiers while they secured a military post at Egyptian border. It said the Egyptian officer and a 3rd Israeli soldier were killed in a confrontation inside Israeli territory hours later. Meanwhile, the Egyptian military said an Egyptian border guard crossed the border security barrier and exchanged fire with Israeli forces while he was chasing drug traffickers. The incident took place near the Nitzana and Al-Auja border crossing between Israel and Egypt. President Joe Biden has signed legislation that lifts the nation's debt ceiling, averting an economically disastrous default on the federal government's debt. The signing of the Fiscal Responsibility Act suspends the debt limit to renew borrowing and avoids a default that would have likely had damaging implications for the American and global economies. Now let's take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Wall Street Journal reports Biden leans on deal-making skills to avoid crisis as poll numbers remain stalled. The Guardian writes, Sardinian town invokes Arnie link to give population a US boost. Le Monde reports, in China, repression is becoming more and more aggressive. The Japan Times reports, world's spy chiefs meet in secret conclave in Singapore. Washington Post reports, Taliban moving senior officials to Kandahar. Will it mean a harder line? South China Morning Post writes, Hong Kong police detained 10 people as security tightened at park that once hosted June 4 anniversary of Tiananmen Square crackdown. Financial Times writes, US cancer drug shortage forces doctors to ration life-saving treatments. Now a quick look at the headlines once again. Condolences keep pouring from around the world on the Balasore train tragedy in Odisha. India's President Draupadi Murmu embarks on a state visit to Suriname and Serbia, focused on encouraging business and people-to-people ties. US Defense Minister arrives in New Delhi, will discuss expansion of bilateral strategic ties. India-Maldives ties deepening, says India's Minister of State for External Affairs V. Muralidharan. The 3rd G20 Health Working Group meeting under India's presidency begins in Hyderabad. Japan, US and South Korea agree to upgrade their security relationship to enable real-time monitoring of missiles launched by North Korea. And wrestlers bring glory to India, clinched 3 medals in UWW Ranking Series event in Bishkek. And now before we end, let's listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan by artists from Serbia.
Thank you.
that we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.